Are movie studios about to make 2026 the most exhausting year for your wallet? One month brings superheroes, the next brings horror, animation, sci-fi, nostalgia, and massive franchise comebacks fighting for the same spotlight. Some of these movies could restart entire cinematic universes, while others may crash under impossible hype. So before the trailers flood your feed, here are the 15 2026 movies you need to mark before everyone else does. Number 15, Jumanji, Open World, releasing December 25th. The jungle is not finished playing games with us. Jumanji. Open World carries the kind of nostalgic danger that can pull families, action fans, and comedy lovers into the same theater, which is exactly why it feels like a major holiday card movie. The franchise has always worked because it turns childhood fun into panic, then turns panic into adventure. A board game became a survival nightmare. Then a video game reboot became a body swap blockbuster. Now the title Open World suggests something even bigger. A game with fewer walls, fewer rules, and more room for chaos. That idea alone gives the movie a strong hook, because audiences know Jumanji is never just about escaping danger. It is about people being forced to become someone else before they can figure out who they really are. If the returning cast energy lands, this could be one of those crowd pleasers that wins through timing, humor, and pure popcorn spectacle. Number 14, Avengers, Doomsday, releasing December 18th. Marvel is walking into this one like a boxer entering the final round with the whole arena judging every step. Avengers Doomsday is not just another superhero sequel. It is a pressure test for the entire Marvel machine. A movie carrying years of fan frustration, multiverse confusion, comeback hopes, and impossible expectations. The return of Robert Downey Jr. in a shocking new villain role instantly turned this into a cultural event. Because audiences are not just asking what Dr. Doom will do, they are asking what it means for the actor who once defined Iron Man to become the face of Marvel's biggest threat. That single twist gives the film emotional electricity before one scene even plays. Add the Russo brothers returning behind the camera, the expected collision of Avengers, Fantastic Four, and multiverse characters, and the stakes start feeling enormous. The real drama is not only inside the story, it is outside it. Can Marvel make people believe again? Number 13, Dune, Part 3, releasing December 18th. This is where the desert stops looking like a battlefield and starts looking like a crown that might poison whoever wears it. Dune. Part 3 has the rare kind of blockbuster weight that does not need jokes, nostalgia, or non-stop explosions to feel massive. Denis Villeneuve's Dune films turned sand, silence, prophecy, and political fear into cinematic thunder, and the third chapter is expected to push Paul Atreides into even more dangerous territory. The fascinating hook is that this is not just about victory anymore. It is about what happens after the Chosen One wins and the galaxy starts paying the price. That is what makes this movie feel darker than a typical sci-fi sequel. It is not asking whether Paul can survive, it is asking whether his survival has already unleashed something impossible to control. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and the returning world of Arrakis give the film prestige power, but the real magnet is consequence. Dune has always been about power dressed up as destiny. Number 12, The Hunger Games. Sunrise on the Reaping, releasing November 20th. Panem is opening the arena again, and this time the tragedy already has a name fans remember. The Hunger Games. Sunrise on the Reaping is not just another return to a successful franchise. It is a trip into one of the darkest legends sitting behind the original story, Haymitch Abernathy and the Second Quarter Quell. That immediately gives the movie a powerful emotional advantage, because viewers know Haymitch as the damaged mentor, the survivor with jokes sharp enough to hide old pain. Now the franchise is asking us to watch the event that helped create that broken man. The setting, 24 years before Katniss, adds a sense of doomed history. Every bright costume, every capital smile, every arena rule will carry the shadow of what comes later. That is why this prequel has stronger stakes than a simple origin story. It is about watching a system sharpen itself before the rebellion ever catches fire. If the movie captures the cruelty, spectacle. Number 11, Clayface, releasing October 23rd. A villain made of shifting faces might become one of DC's most unsettling big-screen experiments. Clayface is the kind of comic book movie that does not need to look like every other comic book movie, and that is what makes it dangerous in the best way. The character has always carried a horror tragedy beneath the monster surface. Identity melting, fame curdling, the body becoming a prison, and a man losing control of the image he once used to survive. If DC leans into that, Clayface could become less of a standard villain spin-off and more of a psychological nightmare hiding inside superhero mythology. That is a smart move, because audiences are getting harder to impress with simple capes and explosions. They want texture, they want risk, they want a reason to care when the mask comes off. Clayface offers exactly that, because his power is also his curse. He can become anyone, but that means he might have no stable self left underneath. Number 10. Street Fighter, releasing October 15th. The tournament bell is ringing again, and this time Hollywood cannot afford to press the wrong button. Street Fighter has one of the most recognizable video game names in the world, but adapting it is a dangerous challenge because fans are not just watching for action. They are watching for attitude, style, character energy, and whether the movie understands why these fighters became icons in the first place. Ryu and Ken are not just martial artists. Chun-Li is not just a fighter in a blue outfit. The franchise carries decades of arcade memory, competitive pride, and colorful exaggeration. That means the movie has to feel physical, loud, fast, and slightly larger than life without becoming empty noise. The reported story around a World Warrior tournament gives the film a clean hook, because tournaments create instant pressure. Every fight can reveal personality, rivalry, and history. With names like Jason Momoa and Noah Centineo attached in the wider conversation, curiosity is already high. The big question is simple, but brutal. Can Street Fighter finally become the video game movie fans have been waiting for? Or will it get knocked out by its own legacy? Number 9. The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, releasing October 9th. Some stories return with excitement, but this one returns with pressure from an entire generation. The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender has the kind of built-in emotional power that studios dream about and fear at the same time. Avatar fans are not casual. They remember the characters, the bending styles, the spiritual themes, the heartbreak, the humor, and the way the original animated series balanced childhood adventure with war, responsibility, and moral choice. That gives this movie a massive advantage, but also a narrow path. Aang cannot just be a brand name. He has to feel like the same gentle, conflicted, powerful soul who once carried the fate of the world on shoulders that were still too young for the burden. The cinematic promise is huge. Air, water, earth, and fire on a theatrical scale, with the chance to bring bending back as something elegant and emotionally charged. If done right, this could be more than a nostalgia play. Number 8. Resident Evil, releasing September 18th. The doors to the nightmare are opening again, and fans already know what usually crawls out. Resident Evil remains one of the most durable horror action brands in entertainment because it combines corporate conspiracy, survival panic, grotesque creatures, and the terrifying feeling of being trapped in a place designed to betray you. A new Resident Evil film enters a year already crowded with franchise returns, but this one has a special advantage. Audiences understand the name instantly. It promises labs, outbreaks, dark corridors, failed experiments, and characters forced to survive a disaster that somebody powerful tried to hide. The challenge is tone. Resident Evil works best when it remembers that horror comes before spectacle, when every locked door feels like a decision and every quiet hallway feels suspicious. Fans have seen different versions of this universe before, from action-heavy entries to reboot attempts, so curiosity will be mixed with caution. But that tension can actually help the movie. Viewers will show up wanting to know what approach it takes this time. Number 7. Insidious, Out of the Further, releasing August 21st. The scariest place in this franchise was never the house. It was always the place behind the house. Insidious, Out of the Further has a title that instantly reminds horror fans of the series' strongest weapon, that red-lit, ghostly dimension where grief, fear, and trapped spirits twist into something deeply unsettling. The Insidious films built their reputation on atmosphere instead of pure gore, using silence, shadow, family trauma, and sudden imagery to make audiences feel like something is standing just outside the frame. That is why another journey connected to the Further still has real power. The question is not simply what will jump out. The question is what follows you back. Horror sequels often struggle because viewers know the tricks, but Insidious has always had a mythological advantage. Its world feels bigger than one haunting. It feels like a door that should never be opened, yet somehow always is. In a release calendar full of superheroes and fantasy giants, this movie offers a different kind of event. Number 6. Spider-Man, Brand New Day, releasing July 31st. Peter Parker won the multiverse and lost almost everyone who knew his name. That is why Spider-Man, Brand New Day already feels heavier than a normal superhero sequel. After the emotional reset of No Way Home, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is not stepping into a simple next chapter. He is stepping into loneliness, anonymity, and the brutal question of what a hero becomes when the world has forgotten the person under the mask. That is a brilliant place to restart, because Spider-Man has always worked best when the spectacle hurts personally. The swinging is fun, the villains are exciting, but the heart is Peter trying to do the right thing while life keeps taking pieces from him. With the MCU searching for fresh momentum before the next Avengers event, Brand New Day has a massive job. It has to satisfy fans, rebuild Peter's street-level identity, and still feel important in a universe full of gods, monsters, and multiverse threats. Number 5. The Odyssey, releasing July 17th. Christopher Nolan taking on ancient myths sounds less like a movie announcement and more like Hollywood lighting a fuse. The Odyssey is one of the oldest adventure stories in Western literature, but in Nolan's hands, it suddenly feels like a modern cinematic event. Odysseus, trying to return home after the Trojan War, is already packed with monsters, temptation, divine interference, loyalty, suffering, and impossible distance. The story has survived for centuries because it is not just about a man crossing the sea. It is about what time, war, pride, and longing can do to a human soul. With Matt Damon leading the cast and major names surrounding him, the film carries prestige before the first frame. But the real reason audiences are watching closely is Nolan himself. After turning historical dread into a global blockbuster with Oppenheimer, he has earned the rare power to make even ancient poetry feel like a must-see theatrical weapon. Cyclops, sirens, gods, storms, and obsession on a giant screen. Number 4. Evil Dead Burn, releasing July 10th. Some horror franchises whisper when they return, but Evil Dead kicks the door open covered in blood-red chaos. Evil Dead Burn has the kind of title that tells fans exactly what mood to expect. Something cursed, aggressive, and impossible to contain. The franchise has always lived on a strange line between nightmare and madness, mixing possession horror with wild physical energy, and a sense that the world itself is being torn apart by something ancient and cruel. That identity is why Evil Dead keeps surviving across generations. It does not need a polished haunted mansion or a quiet ghost story. It needs desperate people, a terrible discovery, and one mistake that unleashes absolute mayhem. A new standalone direction could help the series stay fresh without abandoning the ingredients fans crave. The danger for any Evil Dead entry is repetition, but the opportunity is huge. Number 3. Moana, releasing July 10th. Disney is not just revisiting an island adventure here, it is testing whether one of its most beloved modern animated hits can survive the jump into live action without losing its soul. Moana carries powerful audience memory because the original was bright, emotional, musical, and deeply tied to identity, courage, family, and the call of the ocean. That makes the live-action version both exciting and risky. Fans are not only asking whether the visuals will look beautiful, they are asking whether the heart will still feel honest. Dwayne Johnson returning as Maui gives the film immediate star power, while a new live-action Moana means the movie has to balance familiarity with discovery. The ocean, the songs, the mythology, and the journey beyond the reef all need to feel cinematic rather than copied. If it works, this could become one of the biggest family movies of the year, especially because Disney knows how to turn nostalgia into an event. Number 2. Minions and Monsters, releasing July 1st. Never underestimate the tiny yellow chaos agents who somehow keep turning noise, nonsense, and slapstick into box office gold. Minions and Monsters may sound lighter than the superhero wars and prestige epics around it, but that is exactly why it belongs near the top of any calendar list. Number 1. Supergirl, releasing June 26th. DC is sending Supergirl into theaters at a moment when every superhero movie has to prove it deserves the spotlight. That is what makes this one so interesting. Supergirl is not arriving as a simple symbol of hope with a cape and a smile. This version of Kara Zor-El is expected to carry heavier emotional baggage, shaped by loss, survival, and a harsher relationship with heroism than audiences usually associate with Superman's world. That gives the movie a sharp identity. It can stand apart from Superman instead of living in his shadow. Millie Alcock stepping into the role also gives the character a fresh face, and James Gunn's new DC universe raises the stakes even higher. Every major DC release now feels like part of a rebuilding mission, where one success can strengthen the entire plan and one misfire can shake confidence. Supergirl has the chance to show a cosmic, wounded, unpredictable heroine who is still deciding what justice means when pain is part of her origin. That emotional conflict is the hook. Audiences are not just watching to see her fly, they are watching to see whether DC's new future can finally take off. So that is your 2026 movie calendar, and honestly, it already feels like a box office battlefield. Superheroes, sci-fi legends,